The envelope from Riverside Community College felt impossibly light in my hands. Inside was my acceptance letter to their nursing program, not Stanford's medical school where I'd been accepted 3 months ago. But it was something. A way forward. A chance to still help people, even if it wasn't quite the dream I'd planned. "You don't have to do this," my brother Michael whispered from his hospital bed. "I'll figure something out. Maybe another clinical trial." I shook my head, forcing a smile. "It's done, Mikey. I already transferred the money this morning. All $287,000 of my college fund, carefully saved since I was born, meant to fund my medical school dreams, now redirected to pay for my brother's experimental cancer treatment, a treatment our parents had refused to help with, claiming they couldn't afford it. It's too risky, Dad had said, not meeting our eyes. The success rates are too low. We've already spent everything we can. He'll die without it. I'd screamed, waving the doctor's reports at them. This is his last chance. Then maybe it's God's will, Mom had whispered, crossing herself. We have to accept. No, I'd stood up, my hands shaking. I don't accept that. Not when there's still a chance. That was 3 months ago. Now I sat in a hospital watching my little brother sleep, his body finally responding to the treatment I paid for. The treatment that had cost me my future, my parents' love, and any relationship with my family. The day I'd transferred the money, Dad had called me into his home office. The same office where he ran the family's successful construction company, where he taught me about business and responsibility since I was old enough to understand. You're making a mistake, he'd said, his voice cold. That money was for your education. For your future. Michael's life is more important than my future, I'd replied. And what about our family's reputation? Taking money meant for education and gambling it on an experimental treatment? What will people think? I'd stared at him, unable to believe what I was hearing. Who cares what people think? This is about saving your son. It's about responsibility. He thundered. About respecting your parents' wishes. If you do this, if you throw away your future on this foolish gamble, don't expect any more support from us. No more allowance, no more car insurance, no more living at home. You'll be on your own. Fine, I'd said, my voice surprisingly steady. I'd rather be on my own than watch my brother die when I could have helped. Mom had cried, begged me to reconsider. Think about your future, Deanna. Medical school has been your dream since you were 10. Watching my brother die has never been part of that dream, I'd responded, walking out of their house for what I thought would be the last time. Now 3 months later, I was working 2 jobs, waitressing and night shift at a convenience store, while taking prerequisites at community college. My tiny studio apartment barely fit a bed and desk, but it was mine. Paid for with honest work, just like everything else in my new life. The doctors were cautiously optimistic about Michael's progress. The experimental treatment was doing exactly what they'd hoped, shrinking tumors that had been declared inoperable. He even started talking about going back to college himself once he recovered. Our parents hadn't visited him once since I paid for the treatment. Their form of protest, I suppose. Or maybe they couldn't face the evidence that they'd been wrong. Miss Anderson. A nurse poked her head into the room. There's someone here to see you. Says he's your parents' business partner. I frowned. Frank Davidson? She nodded. He's quite insistent. Frank had been Dad's partner in Anderson and Davidson Construction for 20 years. He'd been like an uncle to me and Michael growing up, always bringing us presents from his business trips, attending our school events when our parents were too busy. I found him pacing in the hospital waiting room, looking older and more troubled than I remembered. Diana, he said, pulling me into a quick hug. You look tired, kiddo. Working 2 jobs will do that, I replied. What brings you here, Uncle Frank? He glanced around the waiting room, then pulled me into a quiet corner. There's something you need to see. Something I've been struggling with since I found out what happened with Michael's treatment. He pulled out a thick folder from his briefcase. These are financial records from the company, specifically from a special account your father set up 3 months ago. I took the folder, my hands trembling slightly as I opened it. Inside were bank statements, transfer records, investment documents. I don't understand, I said, scanning the numbers. This shows a transfer of $500,000 right around the time Michael needed the treatment, but Dad said they couldn't afford. Keep reading. Frank urged quietly. I flipped through more pages, my confusion growing. These are receipts for a vacation house in the Bahamas, a new yacht, But how could they afford this if they couldn't help Michael? Frank's face was grim. There's more. Check the source of the funds. I turned to the original transfer document and felt my world tilt sideways. The money had come from a trust fund, my trust fund. Not my college fund that I donated to Michael's treatment, but a separate account I'd never known existed. Your grandmother left it to you, Frank explained softly. It was supposed to be given to you on your 25th birthday. Your parents were trustees, meant to manage it until then. But they used it to buy themselves luxury items while claiming they couldn't afford to save their own son. My voice cracked. How could they? That's not all, Frank said, pulling out another document. Look at the date they transferred the money. One day after you used your college fund for Michael's treatment. Almost like they were punishing me, I finished, feeling sick. They let me sacrifice my future, my dreams, when they had access to money that could have saved Michael without costing me anything. Frank nodded sadly. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you. It's not right, Deanna. What they did isn't just morally wrong, it's legally questionable. As trustees, they had a fiduciary duty. My phone buzzed, interrupting him. A text from my mother. Coming to see Michael tomorrow. Please don't be there. We need family time with our son. Family time. After 3 months of ignoring him, of letting me work myself to exhaustion trying to build a new life while caring for my brother, they wanted family time. I looked at the documents in my hands, then at Frank's worried face. Uncle Frank, I said slowly, I'm going to need copies of everything. And maybe the name of a good lawyer. He reached into his briefcase again. Already got them right here, kiddo, and I know just the person you should talk to. I hugged the documents to my chest, thinking about all the nights I cried myself to sleep, believing I'd lost my family's love by defying their wishes to save my brother. All the times I doubted my decision while working double shifts on 3 hours of sleep. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. What I would discover about my parents' financial dealings over the next few days would shake our family and their precious reputation to its very foundation. The law office of Patricia Chen specialized in trust litigation. Her corner office overlooked the city skyline, but she barely seemed to notice the view as she reviewed the documents Frank had provided. This is quite something, she said finally, looking up at me. Your parents didn't just misappropriate your trust fund. They've been systematically moving money around for years, setting up shell companies, hiding assets. But why? I asked. The construction company is successful. Why would they need to hide money? Ms. Chen spread out several documents on her desk. Look at these dates. The first irregular transfers began right after your grandmother passed away. She left significant assets to both you and your brother in trust, with your parents as trustees. My hands shook as I examined the papers. Michael has a trust fund too. Had, she corrected grimly. Your parents emptied it 2 years ago, right around the time his first symptoms appeared. They used a complex series of transfers to make it look like the money was being spent on legitimate medical expenses, but our forensic accountants traced it to personal purchases, vacation properties, luxury cars, private jet memberships. I felt sick. So when they said they couldn't afford his treatment, they had already spent his money on themselves. And when you stepped in with your college fund, they celebrated by spending your trust fund too. Can we prove all this? Ms. Chen's smile was sharp. Oh yes, your Uncle Frank has been keeping very detailed records since he first noticed discrepancies in the company books. Plus, we have something even better. She pulled out one final document, an email chain between my parents and their private banker, dated the day after I paid for Michael's treatment. Need to move Dee's trust fund immediately. She's proven herself untrustworthy with money, choosing to waste her education fund on her brother's foolish medical gambles. We'll put the money to better use. Please advise on most discreet transfer methods. The banker's response was professional but clear. Strongly advise against this course of action. As trustees, you have a legal obligation. Please confirm you understand the potential consequences. My parents' reply, just do it. She's made her choice. Now she can live with it. They put it in writing, Ms. Chen said softly. Their intent to punish you for helping your brother by stealing your inheritance. In my 20 years of practice, I've rarely seen such a clear-cut case of breach of fiduciary duty. I stared at their words until they blurred through my tears. What do we do now? Now, she began gathering the documents. Now we prepare for tomorrow's family meeting, the one your parents don't know I'll be attending. The next day, I arrived at Michael's hospital room early. He was sitting up in bed, looking stronger than he had in months. "Are you sure about this?" he asked as I set up my laptop. "Once we do this, they need to face what they've done," I said firmly, "to both of us." Frank arrived next, carrying more files. Then Ms. Chen, elegant and imposing in her court attire. We were ready when our parents walked in. Mom stopped short at the sight of us all. "What is this?" We said we wanted family time. "Oh, this is definitely about family," I replied, turning my laptop to face them. "Specifically about how you've been stealing from your children." Dad's face darkened. "How dare you?" "No," I cut him off. "How dare you? How dare you steal Michael's trust fund, spend it on luxuries while he was dying? How dare you punish me for saving him by stealing my inheritance too?" "We did no such thing," Mom protested. "That money was..." "Right here," Frank interrupted, laying out bank statements. Every transfer documented. Every dollar tracked. "Would you like to explain the shell companies, the hidden accounts, the suspicious timing of certain luxury purchases?" Dad turned on him furiously. "You betrayed us. After 20 years? No, Robert, you betrayed your children. I'm just helping expose the truth." Ms. Chen stepped forward. "Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, I'm Patricia Chen, trust litigation attorney. We have clear evidence of breach of fiduciary duty, misappropriation of trust assets, and potentially criminal financial misconduct. Would you like to discuss this here or in court?" Mom sank into a chair, her face ashen. Dad looked like he might explode. "You ungrateful," he started, but Michael's voice cut through the tension. "Why?" My brother's question was simple but devastating. "Why did you steal my money and let me think I was going to die because treatment was too expensive? Why did you let Diana sacrifice everything to save me when you had the means to help? We were protecting you both." Mom burst out. "That experimental treatment, it was a risk. We didn't want you wasting your inheritance on something that might not work. So you spent it on a yacht instead?" I asked incredulously. "On vacation houses and private jets." "We earned that money," Dad shouted. "All those years managing your trusts, dealing with investments. As trustees," Ms. Chen interrupted coldly, "you were legally and ethically bound to manage those funds for your children's benefit, not your own enrichment. Would you like to see the penalties for this level of breach?" She laid out another document, a draft lawsuit with potential damages that made even Dad's face go pale. "You have two options," she continued. "One, we take this to court. Every detail becomes public record. Your reputation, your business, your standing in the community, all destroyed. You'll likely face criminal charges for financial fraud. Or," Mom whispered, "or you sign these papers now. Return every penny taken from both trusts with interest. Transfer control to an independent trustee, and step down from any involvement in the construction company." "You can't do this," Dad protested weakly. "The company is my life's work." "The company has my name on it too," Frank reminded him, "and I have enough documentation of financial irregularities to trigger a full audit. Your choice, Robert." I watched my parents' perfect facade crumble as they realized the depth of their exposure. All their careful deceptions, their manipulations, their cruel power plays, all unraveling in a sterile hospital room while their son watched from his recovery bed. 3 hours later, they left in defeat, having signed everything Ms. Chen put in front of them. The empire they'd built on stolen trust funds and broken trust was over. "What happens now?" Michael asked into the heavy silence. "Now you focus on getting better," I told him. "The trusts will be properly managed by an independent trustee. Your treatment is fully funded. And when you're stronger, you can go back to college. What about you? Will you go back to Stanford?" I smiled, feeling truly light for the first time in months. "Actually, I've been thinking. This whole experience, it's shown me something about myself. About what really matters." I pulled out my Riverside Community College nursing acceptance letter. I still want to help people, but I think I can do that just as well as a nurse. And this way, I can start sooner, work while studying, really understand healthcare from the ground up. Michael reached for my hand. "You're amazing, you know that?" You gave up everything to save me, and somehow you made it into something positive. Not everything, I corrected him. I gave up money and a specific path, but I gained clarity. Understanding of what real family means, not control and manipulation, but sacrifice and support. Frank cleared his throat. Speaking of support, the company board met this morning. We'd like to offer you a position, Diana, Special Projects Manager, focusing on our healthcare facility construction division. Your perspective as someone who's seen healthcare from the patient advocate side would be invaluable. I stared at him. But I don't have any construction experience. You have something better, he said firmly. Integrity. Compassion. The ability to see what really matters beyond dollar signs and status symbols. That's what we need as we rebuild the company's reputation. 1 year later, Michael is cancer-free and back in college. I'm halfway through my nursing program, working part-time with Frank's company to help design more patient-centered healthcare facilities. Our parents, well, they're living in a modest condo now, all their hidden assets returned to their rightful owners. Yesterday, I received an invitation to a charity gala, my first major public event as part of the company's new leadership team. The theme? Building Hope. Healthcare facilities for the future. I showed it to Michael during his weekly dinner visit to my small but comfortable new apartment. Going to be awkward, he noted. Mom and Dad will probably be there. Lots of their old society friends. Good, I said firmly. Let them see what real success looks like. Not yachts and vacation homes bought with stolen money, but honest work that actually helps people. He smiled. Think they'll ever understand what they did wrong? Maybe not, I admitted. But we do. And that's what matters. I pinned the invitation next to my nursing program acceptance letter. 2 pieces of paper that represented choosing integrity over ease, purpose over status, real family bonds over superficial appearances. Sometimes losing everything you thought you wanted helps you find what you really need. Sometimes the hardest betrayals lead to the clearest revelations. And sometimes standing up for what's right costs you a false family but builds you a stronger, truer one. Next week, I start my pediatric nursing rotation in the same hospital where Michael received his treatment. Life has a way of coming full circle, showing you that the paths you never planned can lead to exactly where you were meant to be. I may not be heading to Stanford Medical School anymore, but I'm building something better, a life based on truth, integrity, and real purpose. And no trust fund in the world is worth more than that.